start the bidding.
Well done, Ben. Thanks. The first item is a statue of Michael as Ben Jackson. And as Ben said, he's donated it. It's all for the charity that he's supporting in his father's name. So who'll start me off? Lovely. Oh, please.
Apparently it's a one-off statue which was made by a fan for Michael and given to him, and it was something he owned for several years and is now being donated to the charity.
Excellent. Now, who'll start me off? That's a beautiful piece of work. Who'll start me off at 20? Thank you. Any advance on 20?
25.
Thank you. 25. 30. Any advance on 30? Any advance on £30? 35. 40. 40. 45. 45 over here. 50. 55. 55. I think the lady bid 50. Am I with you or her, sir? I'm with you for 50 then, madam. 50. Any advance on 50? Going once. 60. Any advance on £60? £60 then. Are we all done? 60 on my right. Going once. And going twice. And sold to Mark. £60. Next item is the TV Times cover featuring Michael on the front page. It's framed, as you can see, obviously, and it's the only time that Michael featured on the front page of a television listing guide. Can I have a quick look? Do you know anything about it? And on the back, it's got a piece out of the TV Times about a no hiding place, which I would assume Michael was also in. But it's the full listing from the old-fashioned Radio Times. Again, you know, it's framed, so, you know, frame alone, I think we'd better start this at least 10. Who'll start me off at 10?
10.
Thank you. Any advance on 10? 12. 20 on my right. Any advance on 20? Any advance on 20? 25. 30. 35. 40. 45. 50. 55. 60. 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 110. Any advance on 110 on my left? £110. Going once. Are we all done? And twice, and sold to the gentleman, end of the second row. Next item is kind of even more personal, really. It's a show reel that Michael made up for his new agent in 1998, highlighting his television and film career. So it's sort of his show reel.
They're actually outtakes from the show.
Ah, right. Right. So it's not actually a film, it's film frames of film. I think. Yes. I think maybe a lot of people might like to have a little look at it. But it's basically what he was collating together for the new agent. So again, a very personal memento. So who'll start me off, please, at 5? 5. 6.
£20.
£20. 20 on my right. 25. 25. £25. If you want to, I won't get confused. If you want to look at it, do that. And if you want to bid, just hold your hand up. If you want to have a closer look, wave from side to side. It's just very difficult with the lighting here. But I've got 25 on the front row. Any advance on 25? Or anyone want to take a closer look? Someone would like to take a closer look at that.
I've just been told these are not in fact from the video show reel. The video show reel is a separate lot. These are photographs of of Michael Craze, taken.
Six. 8. 8. Any advance on 8? I've got 4 rows back. 8. £8 then. 10. 12. 12 in row 4. 12. Going once. And going twice. Sold to the gentleman, row 4. Thank you. The next item is that show reel I mentioned, which is going to be coming up on the screen there while we're bidding. So, as I said, it's a show reel that Michael made for his new agent in '98, and it highlights his career in film and television. Again, bear in mind, you know, young Ben has brought all these things. They're from the family. They're deeply personal and deeply, irreplaceable. I mean. So, who will start me off, please? This is a unique item. It's his show reel. It's, you know, what agents then distribute to casting directors who want to see somebody's career over a period of years. So, I think we ought to start this at 10. Who will start me off at £10? And we're not going to sound the sounder.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine who has worked with 6 doctors and has in fact cast 3. Producer, Mr. John Nathan Turner. Oh, thank you for your help with the auction. It's very good of you. Oh, as I've just said, you've worked with them all, except for William Hartnell.
Yes, I would have loved to, actually. I knew his son-in-law, who was Terry Carney, because he was actually Nicola Bryant's agent. And through Terry, I met Bill Hartnell's daughter, and the late Heather Hartnell, and of course the grandchildren. And the boy, whose name I forget, also came to work with the BBC, so got to know him quite well.
Excellent. And now you worked with Patrick Troughton and John Pertwee in your early television career.
Yeah. Yes, I worked with both of them. I mean, in a way, quite briefly, over a period, I suppose, with Pat, it amounted to, in total days, maybe 10 in all. And with John, something like, again, condensing it, maybe 3 weeks.
And what was your actual role in the series then?
At that time, I was what's known as floor assistant, which is just about as low as you can get on the production ladder. They used to be called call boys at the BBC, and then they decided during the 60s that there was no reason why they couldn't be call girls. So consequently, they changed the title to floor assistant. But basically the job was to type up the little cards that went into the dressing room door with the name on it of the actor, or the actors if they were sharing a room, and basically ensure that the actors were on the right set at the right time for both the rehearsal period and the recording period.
Some years later, you became production assistant. I believe you visited the studio for Talons of Weng Chiang
Yes.
and met Tom.
Yes, I'm not actually sure whether Talons of Weng Chiang was the first time I met him. It may well have been, but it was certainly the first time I'd been in a Doctor Who studio since those Pertwee, the two stories I did with Pertwee, which were, one was Colony in Space, and the other one was called The Space Pirates. No, that was Pat Troughton. Colony in Space and
Ambassadors of Death?
Ambassadors of Death. Yeah.
Okay, then you started working regularly with Tom
Yes.
and became eventually the producer.
Eventually, yeah.
And in 1979, we needed a new leading man. Can you tell us a little bit about how you decided to opt for Peter Davison?
Well, I don't know that any other producer would necessarily agree with
We have a little
Yes,
announcement to make.
I've just been speaking to my pedigree chum, and I do apologise. I thought that Michael Gough had passed away. He is not the late Michael Gough.
He's very early.
He is the current Michael Gough.
It's actually Leonard Sachs who's no longer with us.
Leonard Sachs, indeed, yes. Hello, who are you?
I don't know, who are you?
How are you? Who am I? Indeed. Indeed. I caught a little of that, thank you. Thank you for saying I was famous. It's rather nice.
Colin, Arc of Infinity.
Yes.
I understand you were thoroughly atrocious on set.
Well, I can't answer to that. I mean, it's up to John to say what I was like on set. All I know is that I've never been the sort of actor who labours under the delusion that anybody else in the play is more important than me. In fact, au contraire, if I was playing the third servant from the left, I'm very surprised to find the play isn't called The Third Servant on the Left. And this is probably the characteristic to which you refer, really. And I think at one point you said something along the lines of, are you labouring under the delusion that this play is called Maxil? Or words to that effect. Did you not? Oh, sitting on it, are you?
Those lines.
Yes. I acquired a nickname, I know that.
Archie.
Archie, he called me Archie. Perhaps you'd like to explain why? Perhaps you would like to explain why?
It was just that I felt at the producer's run-through, I mean, on the last day of rehearsal, before you go into the studio the following day, there's a run-through. As far as possible, just done straight through. You do it in the story order, and the production manager tells you the bits that you've either recorded last week or are going to record next week. So you do a scene, and then a voice would say, meanwhile, the doctor faces the jury. Cue. And then you go on to the next scene. So as far as possible, it's the play in order, episode by episode, but with gaps. And the producer makes notes, and so does the script editor, because the script editor is representing the writer's interest, and there's copyright and all the rest of it, and script changes are always proposed and not supposed, and strictly speaking, because the guild is so very, very powerful, every and or but that is changed should be conveyed to the writer, which is why all these phone calls happen all the time. The AFM, you know, is keeping the master copy of the book, is on the phone all the time saying, oh, yeah, now page 48, delete and he said, and replace it with I think, right? And all that has to be relayed across. So we're all there making our notes. But mine is meant to be, or the producer's is meant to be, the kind of overall vision of it all. I don't walk around with a script, I just watch the visuals. And it seemed to me that there was a sort of grandeur about Maxwell that seemed a little inappropriate. And I did think, you know, I know it's a well-known name, but I mean, any more of this and he'll demand billing above the Doctor.
I never thought of that. What a good idea.
And I simply said to the director, I think Maxwell is a little bit arch. There's an awful lot of head swishing going on, you know. It would be, and attend to that at once, Maxwell.
Heavy sighs.
And exit. And so I conveyed this to the director and said, I think he's a bit arch. And that's why we ended up...
The nickname
with,
Archie
him being
came
nicknamed
along.
Archie.
And there was Esmeralda as well. You know about Esmeralda, the famous hat. For those of you who don't know, plumed hat, a Gallifreyan guard, put it on me, walked into door, couldn't go through the door without bending virtually double because I'm a tall, strapping bloke. And so we decided, as the hat had already been established, I would take it off and carry it. And as soon as you get to carrying a hat with plumes on it, to me it looked like a chicken. So I gave it a name. You would if you had a chicken, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
It'd be rude not to. So it got called Esmeralda. And I think Peter was a little irritated by the which was going on behind him when nobody else could hear. I got the odd baleful look.
Now, John, Peter did his 3 years and had
Make it
announced...
sound like a sentence. Time off for good behaviour.
He did his time, and that's even worse, did his time, and you had to look for a replacement. Now, I understand that it was at a certain wedding party that you met Colin again.
This is embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah, this has been made to sound so trivial and banal. There is an element of truth in it, but, you know, it's not quite as trivial as it's been made out. I went to Sarah Sutton's 21st birthday, I think it was.
No, it's
Lynn's wedding.
Lynn's wedding.
Lynn's wedding I went to,
Yes,
and Sarah Sutton was there.
she was.
Right.
Lynn Gray.
Lynn Gray.
Who-
Yes.
Gray, who was...
Gray.
Shall I help you here?
An AFM.
He was an AFM
Yes.
on Arc of
Yeah.
Infinity.
Yeah. Go on then, you tell.
Well, that's all, we went there.
And it was a lovely party, and we all ended up in the garden. It was a beautiful summer's afternoon. And inevitably, the people who know each other, you know what it's like at weddings, you know, family on one side stick together and family on the other side stick together, and all the people from the business stuck together en masse. And we had lovely food and lovely wine, and we were all sitting around in a group. And Colin entertained everyone of our group.
Whether they liked it or not.
Yeah.
To quote,
To the point of us all aching with laughter. And it was at that time I knew he was the kind of actor I wanted to play the Doctor next. But it's been made to sound as though you were doing an audition alone. It's not like that at all. It's just that he particularly impressed me off set. I'd seen him on set, but he impressed me off set. And as I said earlier, you know, part of playing Doctor Who involves events such as this, promotions, PAs, cutting ribbons at garden fetes. And there are some actors to whom it is totally alien. And you have to cast somebody in Doctor who you know can do that. Because otherwise, you know, there isn't any promotion. There isn't any promotion of the series. You know, even, you know, Bill Hartnell went to fetes and charity events and social events and so and so. I know with Pat there was a reluctance, but eventually he came round to that way of thinking. And during the 80s, you know, everything was changing. The media was changing so rapidly. You've got to keep up with it. It isn't good enough just to be in a play anymore, or just to do the telly. You've got to be part of the marketing, a word that didn't exist at the time we're talking about. Marketing has only ever come in the last 15 years. You had a press officer, but now it's called marketing, and you have a head of marketing, an assistant head of marketing. Well, if you've got a performer who you know can go out and market themselves, well, you're halfway there.
The interesting thing from my point of view about that, of course, is had I known that there was a possibility of that, I probably wouldn't have said a word. It was because we had worked together, that was over, Doctor Who was over, you were a television producer I did not have to impress, because there was no possibility of working for you again, you know, not for a few years anyway. So I was relaxed. So if you'd said to me, well, I'm watching you this afternoon, and if you come across with the goods, you might have a chance of playing the next Doctor, and I'd go, hello. It was purely because of the pressure being off, which was quite nice, really.
I'm going to have to move us on a bit as time's pressing on.
Oh, sorry.
It's
Oh,
all right.
go. Have you got something more interesting to do, have you? Oh, I do apologise. Fancy us talking at a panel. Oh.
I've got to be honest and say I've been looking at you while you've been talking, and I've forgotten to look at the clock, and I've just looked down and thought, oh,
Have you?
time's marching on, yeah.
Oh, how interesting. What else were you thinking while we were talking? Maybe you were thinking of changing your jacket, or...
You inspired me to buy it. Talking about jackets, your costume has become very, very famous. Some people love it.
More
some
famous
people
than
hate
me,
it.
alas, yes.
What are your views on your costume?
Saving John's presence, it was never my favourite part of the whole experience. It's always easy to be clever with hindsight. I mean, John did give me the opportunity to come up with some ideas, and all I came up with was kind of a cross between the Master and Pertwee, really. I fancied myself in kind of black with the odd ruffle and things like that. And John said, well, that's been done before, we need something new. And he came up with the idea, God knows from where, about being totally tasteless. Now, it's obviously nothing in my personality, which...
Where'd you get the tie from, then?
It was a present from my wife.
Touché.
And she picked you.
1-0.
Love all.
Yeah, the costume, I was on the inside looking out. So you're the ones who have more right to comment on it than I do. I suppose, had the BBC's budget been greater, I would have agitated quite soon for a change of costume, probably. But I know they'd spent half the annual budget for Doctor Who on the making it in the first place. But it struck me that anyone who wished to pass unnoticed in alien cultures might adopt a less garish mode of dress. I mean, it was a nice conceit in the first place. But personally, I didn't say anything at the time, but in retrospect I'd have probably chosen something else, but hey, what the heck.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, and I've said this in my memoirs available on CD currently.
Oh, where can you get those, John?
The dealer's room, I
In
understand.
the tailor's room they have them. I'd look out for those.
I I actually think it was a mistake. And it's no good pointing the finger anywhere else other than me. Ultimately, the buck stops at my level. You know, heads of department and controllers don't get involved in costume decisions. And I think in retrospect, and I've said this before, you know, I don't think it did work. And I think probably the first drawing that we saw that lovely Pat Godfrey had done it was probably what we should have gone along with. And I wanted this tasteless thing, and hers was all browns and greys and blacks with kind of clashing textures. And
It was tasteful taste.
tastefully tasteless.
Yes.
Yes. And I wanted something kind of tastelessly
In your
tasteless.
face. Yeah.
So I regret that in retrospect. And as Colin says, you know, bear in mind, irrespective of the cost of the costume, you immediately commission 3. Because there has to be one that's for the stunt double, if there's one required.
And there
has to
never
be-
was. I want that to be known, thank you.
And there has to be one for the actor to wear,
Yeah.
and there has to be one if it gets soiled out of sequence. You know? Well, now, come on.
We know what we mean.
If somebody falls down offset and covers the trousers in mud, you've got to replace their trousers immediately. So you have to have 3 sets. So when Colin's talking about the budget, yeah, you're committed to 3. So to then say, I don't think it looks very good, I think we'd better rethink it, you know, you're into a very serious financial implication. That having been said, the only thing I'd like to remind Colin of was the only comment he ever said to me about the costume while he was doing it was I said something, I think we were on an airplane going somewhere, and I said something about the costume, and you said, well, I mean, let's face it, you know, if that costume's going to be in the show, I want it on my back and nobody else's.
Absolutely true. I've forgotten that. Yes, absolutely right.
Meaning
Yes,
that,
it pulls focus.
that it immediately pulls the focus.
Yeah.
And, you know, well, that's it.
You do notice someone who's wearing something like that, don't you?
Thank you very
Yes.
much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring on another guest.
A nicer one, I should
And
think.
he's a very nice man.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for James Kent Smith, alias Sylvester McCoy. Whilst I'm talking to Sylvester, can one of the crew get the little table and chair for me that was on the stage before we started? Thank you very much.
You've just lost your ring.
Do you know, I was about to make the same gag.
Oh,
Isn't that funny? It's interesting,
Doctors
isn't
together,
it?
isn't it? Yeah. Sorry.
Sylvester, we've been chatting away and I haven't left us much time, so I'm just going to zap straight into it and say Colin, unfortunately, was no longer going to be in the show, and John was tasked with finding a replacement. I understand it's a friend of yours that actually rang up the production office, a guy called Clive.
Well, I think as far as I remember...
He's no friend of mine, I'll tell you that.
Well, you weren't there anymore, sadly you weren't there. But no, what happened was that I'd gone along for interviews with John, as I remember it, and when you go, as an actor, when you go along for an interview, you take along a little bag of charm. And usually the charm lasts a half an hour. You know, if you can stretch it out that much, sometimes it doesn't last that much, does it? And I went along with my little bag of charm, but the thing was that John kept me there for about 2 hours. Twice or 3 times, I think. I can't remember. And I had to carry along this, and kept thinking, I'm going to blow this. You know how you do an interview? You think, oh, this is going. I'm going to blow it now. I'm going to say something or do something, and I'll not get the job. But somehow I didn't blow it. And then, what happened was that then afterwards, when I left, I think a producer called Clive Doig, who I'm now working with at the moment, doing See It, Saw It on children's television, he phoned up immediately. My agent had been in touch with you, and he recommended me to John. And John said, "Are you working with the same his agent? Are you the same?" He said, "It was just coincidence." And I think that made you interested as well, didn't it? That he was recommended me.
John, I believe you actually went to see Sylvester in a stage show.
Yeah, I went along to the National to
Yeah.
see the Pied Piper. But that's exactly right. Sylv's agent, Brian, put him up for the job and followed it up with a phone call with saying, you know, I've sent you that suggestion, da-da-da-da-da. Would you like to go to the National and see him in the Pied Piper? And I said, oh yes, I would. And about an hour later, Clive Doig rang up and said, I understand that, you know, you're considering Sylvester as, and I just want to go. And you know, you immediately think, hello,
Yeah.
what's going on? But subsequently we met. That was all before we met.
I think, yes, it was. Yes, I've got it all mixed
Yeah.
up, as always.
But no, that's true.
Yeah. But the thing about the National Theatre was I was playing the Pied Piper, and my costume was more colourful than yours. It was very similar.
Really?
Yes, I had an amazing costume. It's quite a coincidence that there was a multicoloured costume just like yours.
Did you have a blonde curly wig as well?
No, I had long curly hair. I only had to wear a long curly wig when I played you.
That's why I said it.
Yeah. But no, it was a very similar costume, bizarrely.
And John, you took the decision that Sylvester would actually do a screen test for the part.
Yes, it was suggested by the head of department who said, you know, I think you ought to screen test. And in fact, prior to that, what had happened was the new head of department, Jonathan Powell, had said, interesting idea, Sylvester McCoy, but I think you ought to get a casting director in. Now, in my entire time at the BBC, I never used a casting director. So I kind of thought, oh, hello, you know, all of a sudden my opinion's worth nothing. So I brought in a casting director called Marilyn Johnson. And she walked through the door. I didn't know her from Adam. She was with us for 3 days. She walked through the door and said, your unit manager...
Really, I wouldn't be giving away too many secrets. So that was all done on Steve's home computer, on a normal PC. What are you running at the moment?
It's an Athlon.
600, 650.
So it's not even top of the range.
Yeah. Yes, Steve.
Just a couple of things about the two main performers there. Where did PJ come from, first of all? And secondly, Jo Castleton is absolutely superb in that. And is she going on to wonderful better things? Not better, obviously.
No, well, I think she's peaked, actually. PJ Auckland, he's an American actor. He's appeared in Police Academy. He was in Space Above and Beyond, and a couple of films, which I can't remember the name of at this time. Maybe somebody else can help me out with that. But he's an actor that Bill knows from LA. And Jo Castleton is a jobbing actress. She likes working with Bill and was quite happy to play the part. Yeah, she's we said to her, yeah, where would you rather be, Coventry or LA? And she thought long and hard and went to LA, but we didn't.
Yes, sir.
Have you made a deliberate decision to use those actors for
No, not at all. It wasn't. It's not an issue. I think we tried to get the best actors that we can, rather than slavishly go for Doctor Who actors. The ones that we think are best for the part. I think is the answer to that.
I think there's nothing worse than pulling someone in just because they're getting Doctor Who. Find out, you know, it's probably not good for them. If the part doesn't fit, then we'll use someone who isn't associated.
I mean, PJ, he's really good, and Jo, we know because she's done lots of stuff for us before, and we know she's good, and the part was right for her.
BBB Stalwart.
Yeah, she's cheap as well.
for the acting. Any other questions?
Yep.
There was no CGI in that at all.
Yeah,
It was just clever camera work by Mr. Banks.
yeah, clever camera work and basically,
Sound effects.
yeah, that was shot without a machine, obviously, with just a camera. And where our arms go out of frame, Mike Nielsen, who did the special sound, just put the sound of somebody hitting something like that, and you achieve the effect. We're giving it all away now, aren't we? Yep. Oh, I knew that question was going to come up. I knew that question was going to... You're not the first person to ask that. There are no plans at the moment for a sequel. We're as you know, he said, plugging furiously. We're doing a comedy next with Sylvester McCoy called Do You Have a License to Save This Planet? And then later this year we're going to be doing another more serious science fiction thing. And that's not a sequel to Cyberon at the moment. That's something different. Whether we do another Cyberon, we don't know. That's the honest answer at the moment. We may do.
We're not going to do one for the sake of it. If the right story comes along and it feels right, then...
We've got something really special planned for the one later this year. We've dumped quite a lot of CGI effects. For those of you who may have been past the stall and seen the CGI effects for Do You Have a License to Save This Planet, we've really gone overboard on the CGI. But what we've got planned for the one after that is really something special. If we can pull that off, that will be, I think that will top both Cyberon and License. Yes, sir.
I think you just mentioned not doing something for the sake of it. I would agree that the story that we saw there would stand up well enough without the kind of passing reference to Cyber in there.
Yeah, I think so. I think there are a number of issues about that. We want to make stories that are good. We want to make stories that are not just copies of what's gone before in Doctor Who. And we want to take the universe of Doctor Who maybe in a slightly dogleg way. But I think, I don't know if it's a cynical thing, but I think it needs that hook. I think the general science fiction audience might go for it, but there's nowhere to market it. And that's I think the thing. We can market it to a specific audience if we've got that connection. And I think to carry on making them, which is what we want to do, I think they need to be self-financing. We need to make the money back that we put into it. So that's why it has the hook. And I think it's good that we explore that universe as well. I think that's important as well. The imperative of exploring that universe for us as fans is something that's important for us. Any more for anyone? Yeah, Steve?
Are these the same Cyberons that were in the audios, or do they just happen to have the same name as those Cyberons?
They've got better costumes than the ones in the audios.
Yeah, that's really the only thing that was slightly disappointing about the video. It's a brilliant film, but the actual Cyberons themselves, they didn't look like the head was somehow too big for the body. Is that?
We did. Well, no, fine, be picky. You're the audience. You know, vote with your pocket. Yeah, okay. There is that to it. I think we were so rushed for time getting it out for when we needed to get it out. There wasn't the chance to do the tidying up of the Cyberons with CGI that certainly I wanted to do.
It would have been nice to have them ghost-like all the way through, but I think we'd have...
I think they worked perfectly well as the ghost-like figures, and especially, I mean, it's the first time I've seen it on a big screen, and I thought the first appearance of them, and that wonderful bass note that Mike put in, which shook the room, the actual room shook, and I thought that was a really effective entrance for them. I think they worked like that. Yes, maybe they didn't work so well later on, but you know, you live and learn. You know, we won't go down that route again, I don't think.
Do you have a license?
Or Do You Have a License? It's a comedy, so they're supposed to look comical. You know. I mean, the guy who made them, he put an awful lot of effort into them. And I think it's not until you actually try and make something like that that you appreciate how difficult it is to make something that will please everybody. I think they pass. I think they pass myself. Anybody for anybody else? Before we wrap up?
And waving.
Oh, yes, sir.
If everyone wanted to get into the brains of all the people on the planet that are adults, why didn't it put itself in alcohol?
If you want to take that up with Lance, Jim, that's...
Over a beer, perhaps?
I don't know. I think that it's a very good question. I'll think about it deeply.
All right.
One more? Anybody got one more? Yes, sir. That's the question. I really don't know. There's a very interesting, if I can draw a parallel with what mainstream TV producers think of science fiction, or radio producers. You may all know that the BBC commissioned a radio pilot recently for Doctor Who, Death Comes to Time. And the reason it wasn't taken to series was that they didn't think, the current head of Radio 4 said, there's no audience for science fiction. Now, the people sitting here and the people attending this convention, and the thousands of science fiction books that are sold, how well the biggest grossing movies of all time are, some of them are science fiction. To say that there's no audience is just so naive. But these people have their own agendas, and I think that's why things like this don't get put on television. I mean, in America, I think it's slightly different. I think they've kind of gone crazy with science fiction, the amount of different science fiction programs that come from America. But here, the producers, it's kind of a dirty word, really, science fiction. We're being ghettoised, I think, as fans.
Relegated to cult, isn't it?
Yeah.